I spent the month of August moving. You would think that after moving for an entire month that there was a great distance to move, but it was just across the street. So that was the easy part. The hard part was actually moving pretty much by myself. I wasn't completely by myself. I'm a single dad and I have 2 children. My 16-year-old Jacob was quite helpful when it came to moving the heavy things across the street. Sorry, lights were bright. But you know, it was great because there was literally no way of moving things without him. So, but after a couple of hours, you know, he's a 16-year-old, and his interest went back to his social life, and so he asked for a ride to his friends, and frankly, I was pretty thankful to get the time that I did. So he helped, and my daughter Isabella, who was 8, though spirited and quite excited to help me move, lasted about 5 minutes, and before she ran off to play with her friends in the neighborhood. The move itself took about a week. And when so the larger part of the actual moving process was getting organized. As I stared across the packed living room, I noted how many bins were dedicated and filled with items for my children, or items that I had saved. I didn't have an amicable divorce, and I certainly didn't have an amicable marriage. So what I ended up doing was really hoarding in some regards. I kept everything that my kids could, from the Bellasaurus that my daughter made in kindergarten, the t-shirt, down to the tiniest scribble on a piece of tiny paper. I even kept the yarn that had fallen off my daughter's security blanket that she called Yellow. Yellow was lovingly knitted when Isabella was about 1 year old by my aunt Ed. Had specks of pink and blue, and for the most part the color, of course, was yellow. Through all the years of love that Isabella gave Yellow, it changed quite a bit. So its current iteration was that more of, it was tied in the middle and had a bowl and it looked more like an octopus at this point. It was, you know, it was yellow to Isabella, and it meant quite a bit. It didn't just serve as her security blanket, although it was an absolute requirement every night for bed. It was used to dry her tears when she was sad, and wipe her nose when she was sick, and clean her hands when they were dirty. So, as you can imagine, one of the distinct character qualities of Yellow is that it had quite the smell to it. And Isabella loved that smell, and she made me smell it because she really wanted to share it. So you have to thank her, I totally understood. So one day in the middle of the move, Isabella took Yellow out with her to the dock and was fishing. And she was out there for a bit with her brother. I called them both in for dinner. We had dinner and then we watched a movie. And then it was bedtime. And Isabella came up to me and just stated simply, "Yellow, I need Yellow." Oh no, I thought. I had to search for Yellow, and it was bedtime, and it was a true requirement for sleep was to have Yellow. So, okay, I'm like, all right, Bella, where is it? And she said, well, I think I left it out on the dock. And so it was dark, and I went out to the dock, and couldn't see much because it's an unlit dock, and searched for Yellow. I was on my hands and knees looking for it, and I really did not want to return inside without it. Fearing what would come. But I couldn't find it, and I went back in to Isabella, and I broke the news to her, and there was screaming and crying and kicking, and it took quite a bit of time to get her to bed. I really felt for her, but but there was nothing I could do, and I just told her in the morning I would go out and find it. The next morning I went out and did not find it, unfortunately. I looked everywhere for it, literally high and low, the high tide, the low tide. I was out in my kayak looking for it. I walked through the neighbors' yards. Over the next couple of days, I'm sure that, they were quite curious and even concerned as to why I was in their yard. But I shared with them the story and how important it was to find yellow, because I had just spent the last couple of nights witnessing firsthand how important it was to Isabella. I traditionally lay with her and read a book every night, and that second night, when Isabella started to realize that yellow was gone, I had to sleep with her, and when she fell asleep, I went back to my bed, and several times during the night I was called to come and comfort her, literally just hold her. And she held me as she would yellow. But she had also said, the next night she said to me, with tears in her eyes, "I'll never see yellow again." And I realized really at that moment how important this little blanket was to her, and how important my daughter is to me. I had witnessed loss when I was a child. My sister was tragically killed in a car accident. Sarah Elizabeth Jalet, and my daughter Isabella Sarah Jalet was named after her. And I recall vividly how much I hurt for a while, and although it was different, I just didn't want to see my daughter experience anything like it. So over the next couple of weeks, with the word out in the neighborhood, I literally would go out daily in my kayak looking for yellow. I just didn't, I wanted to take away the loss that I could clearly see what she was feeling. So when she came back from her mother's a couple weeks after yellow was lost, she was playing in the yard, and a landscaper who was trimming the ornamental grass called out to both of us and said, "Hey, come over here." And so we both went over, and in the middle of the ornamental grass was a little bunny, which he quickly named for us, Plum. And Isabella took the plum. I was very happy to have a distraction and to see her smile. She went around to the kids in the neighborhood and brought them over to share and her joy in this beautiful little creature. And unfortunately, my dog Cooper, who's a year and a half, took to Plum as well. And he summarily ran over and picked up Plum and ran off with him, which is at the moment probably as traumatic to me as it was Isabella. But I quickly I got Plum out of Cooper's mouth, and he was thankfully not harmed. The last thing I needed was another loss from my daughter at that moment. And he was soaked in saliva, but he was fine. And, I wanted to make sure that that Cooper didn't get to Plum again, and so I put him inside and put Plum in a safe spot, and we went off to bed. The next morning I woke up to a wail, a cry, a wail of a cry, and I raced downstairs without being able to see. I didn't have my contacts in. I saw Bella standing over something, and I feared the worst, and unfortunately, Cooper did get Plum this time. And so Isabella was crying. I was probably right there with her. I immediately was angry with Cooper and wanted to take it out on him. And Isabella, I'm sure, saw the fire in my eyes and said, "Daddy, it's not his fault." I said, "I know." And so it was at Isabella's suggestion. She said, "Let's wrap him in a cloth and we'll bury him." And somewhat ironically, she chose a hole that Cooper had dug, and we filled it in with dirt and patted it gently, and Isabella, fearing Cooper would get into the hole and get Plum, liberally sprayed it with bug spray. And so, reeling from watching my daughter experience it was food loss. Another one 2 weeks later, I tried to distract her and said, "You want to play soccer?" And she said, "Yep." So, in lockstep with me, we went to the shed to search for the soccer ball, and 2 feet below me and 3 feet behind, Isabella yelled as I opened the door to the shed, "Yellow." She found it.